ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأصلي وأسلم وأبارك على صفوة خلق الله سيدنا ونبينا وقائدنا ومعلمنا محمد عبد الله ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين، اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين، واللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. My dear respected brothers and sisters, I remind myself and my brothers and sisters, as Allah has reminded us in the very book, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. My dear respected brothers and sisters, over the months we've spoken about a number of things, but we've really focused on one very important theme or one very important principle of understanding Islam properly. And this principle, whether we call it principle or whatever you want to call it, regardless what it's called, it always arises from the Quran and Sunnah, because we do not make up our own inventions. We spoke before about the hadith of Sayyidina Jibreel, and we said this is not a hadith to be passed easily. This hadith, the Prophet ﷺ himself, he called it Sunnah, the mother of the Sunnah. So when something is the mother of something, then we have to give it the emphasis that the religion has given to it. We will not go into the hadith today because we spoke about the hadith. We spoke about the three elements of Islam, the three aspects of Islam which the hadith talks about. Al-Islam, Al-Iman, Al-Ihsan. We said that Islam, which is the fiqh, is to do with your actions, so your actions are correct. The Iman, which is the Aqidah, is to do with your mind, so your mindset is correct. And the Ihsan, which is the Tazkiyah, is to do with your heart and yourself, your nafs. Inshallah, today we want to talk about the third element, the Ihsan. You remember we spoke before when we said that unfortunately one of the calamities that the Ummah is facing today is because the majority of Muslims are only focusing on the first aspect of Islam, which is the fiqh, which is the fasting and the praying and the umrah and the hajj and the zakat. But even that, we need to make sure we're doing it correctly. We need to go back to the right scholars and to learn the fiqh according to what the scholars have said. And we said that only a few more move on to the second aspect, which is the Iman, which is the Aqidah. Not many in the Ummah, unfortunately, have studied the Aqidah properly. And this is why we have the limited positive effect in the Ummah today. And thirdly, the Ihsan is probably what the smallest number of the Ummah are concerned with today. Although it is the most important aspect of all three of them. We're not saying the other two are not important, but we're prioritizing here. We're saying it's the most important. And if I make a claim standing here, I should be repeating the claim of Allah and the Prophet, not making my own claim here. The meaning of a hadith that we have, the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks about purifying yourself, or tazkiyah, or ihsan, call it what you want. Call it what you want. But at the end of the day, it's to do with purifying your heart and your nafs. The Prophet ﷺ, in two hadiths, he teaches us that the heart and the purification of the heart is the core of everything. It's the initiator of everything. We have in one hadith, for example, the Prophet ﷺ describes that Allah does not look at your bodies, does not look at your structure or your looks, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more concerned with your heart than your actions. And this also teaches us the absolute justice that we have in Islam. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was only to judge us by our actions. How about those who are unable to do certain actions out of disability or anything? That's for those who are unable to do it. They will not be deprived from getting reward because Allah is just. And even on top of this, if you were to be lying down on your bed at home and thinking to yourself, if I had £20,000, I would share it to my brothers and sisters in Burma and Yemen and Syria and other places and Iraq. You get the reward for the intention that you had. So already we're starting to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned with your heart, because the heart is what tells you what your condition is, what the level of piety is. In another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he teaches us that there is one element of the human body. If this aspect of the human body is pure and clean, the rest of the body will be okay. And this aspect or this element or this part of the body is the heart. This is the Prophet ﷺ speaking, not me. So this tells us the importance. This tells us the importance of the heart and purifying ourselves. And it's most important than the others. Because if you have 50 people doing the same action, they may not all be rewarded in the same way. In fact, some of them may be in a state of sin because they're doing it to show off, not for the sake of Allah. So the action isn't important. The 50 are doing the same action. But it's what the initiator or the trigger of the heart, whether it wants to do it for the sake of Allah, whether it wants to do it for showing off, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward or will give you the sin for. So this is very, very important that we spoke about the hadith of Sayyidina Jibreel that says it's part of Islam, tazkiyah, purifying yourself. And we have the hadith that talk about how it's important. In fact, it's the most important. Now, the beauty of the Quran is when the Quran wants to teach us something, subhanAllah, the balagha of the Quran or the rhetoric of the Quran, it doesn't just teach you by telling you do this and don't do this. The style of the verses teaches you a lot. The examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in the Quran teaches you a lot. And inshallah we shall start today with one of these examples, which really emphasize the importance, the essence of purification, of tazkiyah, or of ihsan. But before I say that, it's important to understand one important rhetoric of the Quran, a style of the Quran. The beauty of the Quran is when it comes to try to teach you something, or to try to divert your attention to something, before it talks about this subject, it starts by talking to you about some things that are relevant to it but may seem like it's not relevant. Then it turns around and then directs your attention to something that Allah wants to draw your attention to. This in the Quran is called iltifat. And iltifat in Arabic, it basically means to turn around or to turn away. So it's like, for example, someone's talking to you about a subject and straight away he goes to talk to you about something else. Why? Because he wants your full attention. While you turn to that second subject, he wants to draw your full attention. But he's been preparing in the first conversation to work towards the second one that he's talking to you about. This is a style of the Quran. Let's take one quick example so we understand what we mean by this style of the Quran, the iltifat, and then we go on to, inshallah, the verse that we've come to speak about today with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Ali Imran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ali Imran is talking about the battle of Badr and Uhud. These are battles. There's fighting, there's jihad, there's all the things that we know according to the fiqh of Islam, not according to the desires of people, some people, a very minute minority that follow Islam. So Surah Ali Imran is talking about Ghazwat Badr and Ghazwat Uhud, the battles of Badr and Uhud, and jihad and everything. And all of a sudden, the verses turn, they leave the battles, and it turns to talk about riba. Riba? Subhanallah. What has the battle got to do with riba? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching you that you in this dunya, you must battle every kind of falsehood, whether it's on the battlefield or whether it's in financial transactions. So it's connected, but in a way, it was talking to you about something which you probably focusing on over the verses, and then it turns towards the riba to say to you, never ever make a difference between what is permissible or what is an obligation in the battlefield and what is an obligation in civil society or in financial transactions. And this reminds us of how harmonious Islam is. We do not separate Islam and take parts and leave parts. So that was an example in Surah Ali Imran. Now let's come on to this verse. Inshallah today with Surah An-Nur, Ayat An-Nur, the Surah of the light and the verse of light. Let's see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about tazkiyah, or talks about purification. And let's look at the effect of it as well. But before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about what in Surah An-Nur. Before we get to the verse of Ayat An-Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about fornication. And what happens in the state of fornication. So fornication is prohibited, obviously, it's haram. It's absolute darkness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about slandering Sayyida Aisha hashaha. And this is darkness. And then what happens? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts to speak about enlightening things. Things that are positive. Things that bring light to individuals and to society and to the whole ummah. Things that revive the manners and the ethics and the morals of the individuals and of the communities and of society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, after speaking about the darknesses of fornication and slandering Sayyidina Aisha hashaha, it goes on to talk about when entering houses, make sure you get permission from the owners of the house before you enter. This is the adab of Islam. Light. This is light. This is the teachings of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Sayyidina Muhammad. Then it talks about lowering your gaze. Lowering your gaze. Lowering your gaze will bring light to your heart. And we have the hadith. The one that lowers his gaze for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah replaces it with something in the heart, with iman in the heart. He will feel the sweetness of it. And also lowering your gaze has a direct effect on the state of the heart and the purification of the heart as well. The hadith describes the seeing, the wrong seeing, as a poison from Iblis, from Shaitan. So it's talking about lowering your gaze so you can be enlightened and be clean and be righteous. And then it talks about marriage for a bit, in the right way, and how to choose in the right way, make the right choices. And then it goes on to speak about if you cannot marry, then you need to protect yourself and protect your private parts. This is all purity. This is all cleanliness. This is all light. This is all the morals and the adab and the ethics of Islam. But these are all activities. So the things that we mentioned, these are certain things that you have to do. Once it's related to houses when you enter them, another time when you're in the street or wherever you are lowering your gaze, and then marriage. These are certain activities in life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about the darknesses first, and then giving examples of light, and then he comes to the verse of light, Ayat An-Nur, not to speak about more activities, but to speak about the condition that we should be in. Because if the condition is right, the whole body will be correct. Like we said in the hadith, if the heart is pure, the whole body is good. If the heart is righteous and clean, then the whole body is righteous. So you see how the build-up of the verses? First it speaks about darknesses, then it speaks about enlightening activities according to Sharia. Then it's talking to you as if you want these enlightened activities to be in your everyday life and everyday actions, then you need to revert to the condition of you being pure and being enlightened. Why? If you are pure and enlightened, anything that comes out of you will be according to Sharia and will be pure and enlightened. What do I mean by it will be from Sharia? We will come to this when we talk about the verse. Because you will not be enlightened without the Sharia. You cannot be seeking to be pured by Allah. You're not being pured by yourself. We can't even stop sinning. And we want to purify ourselves? And purify ourselves according to the standards of the Quran and Sunnah? No. We purify ourselves from Allah. So it's Allah that we're asking to purify us. There is a few words that are related to Sayyidina Abu Bakr. He says, عَرَفْتَ رَبِّي بِرَبِّي وَلَوْلَا رَبِّي مَا عَرَفْتَ رَبِّي. I knew Allah from Allah, and if it wasn't from Allah, I wouldn't have known Allah. It's all coming from Allah. One of the issues that we have in the Ummah today is even when we have sincere intentions, and we're a good Ummah, but we just need to clear the dust that we have on our hearts and in our actions and in our worships. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr is teaching us that even when he wanted to know Allah, he asked Allah to know him, Allah, then he knew Allah. We need Allah for even the things that we want to do for Allah. There is la hawla wa la quwwa illa billah. You have no ability or no power except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what do the verses say? Let's go into the verses to see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about purity and speaks about tazkiyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically says that He is the light of the earth, of the samawat wal ard, of the heavens and the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the light. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of light. Now look at the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. Why does Allah give us an example? Because we will never be able to comprehend the light of Allah. Anything to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will not be able to comprehend it. And this is what we learn in Aqidah. Remember what we said in Aqidah? Aqidah is to put your mindset correct. And one of the things that we learn in Aqidah is nothing that arises from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be resembled or can be understood in its reality. Righteous people, Salihin, Allah reveals things to them, but no one will be able to get to the reality of anything that arises from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to the verse of 8 An-Nur, Allah is the source of light. Then Allah gives an example, because we will not be able to comprehend His light. So He gives an example suitable for the limitations of our mind, so we can understand what Allah is trying to relate to. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the example of His light is, you have a niche. So this is the example now. You have a niche, and inside the niche you have a bulb, a light, and this light is covered in glass. I'm giving a very short summary because of time. So you have a niche, mishkat, and inside this niche you have a bulb, and this bulb is inside a glass. Now what is this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell us, or telling us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving an example of every single one of us and our hearts, and how we're able to purify our hearts and become, the end of the verse, Nurun ala nur, light upon light. Today in the Ummah we're looking for just a glimpse of light. Allah's giving you the methodology, the understanding of how to be light upon light, not just a glimpse of light. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically describing the niche as you, or your body. So the niche is you. Then the bulb inside and the glass is your heart. And Allah describes the glass is like a glittering star. So the glass is very, very clean. It's very sparkling. It's so clean that it's like a glittering star. And then what happens? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that the light that is inside, it is being lightened by oil coming from a blessed tree, which is olive oil. But Allah describes the olive oil, it is so pure as if it could ignite itself without anyone lighting it up. That's how pure it is. So, we have the body, then we have the glass, which is the heart. We have the lamp inside, the glass, and what is feeding the lamp for it to continue lighting is the olive oil. Now, what are we trying to understand here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to you basically, the oil that goes in to keep the bulb alight is Sharia, is fiqh, the practices of the religion. Like we said, you will not be righteous or pure without following the Sharia, without following the fiqh in every aspect of your matter. So this is the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in order to show purity. Now, the heart, it's so pure, and the oil is so pure, when they get together, it becomes nurun ala nur, light upon light. But you will only be in light upon light if your heart is clean. The glass, if it's clean, then when the oil touches it, it becomes light upon light. So in other words, your heart, if it's clean, and the Sharia goes into your heart, meaning the light of the actions that you do according to the fiqh, then it becomes light upon light. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, if we're not able to feel close to Allah and spiritually elevated, etc., etc., then it's one of two things. Either the heart is not pure, even though you're doing actions according to the Sharia, or your heart is pure, but your actions are not according to your Sharia. Then you will never be able to elevate or purify yourself and be in a proper, complete spiritual state. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم أدعو الله وأنتم موقنون بالإجابة. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبينا ورسولنا. Inshallah, brothers, we will leave the rest of this subject until another time, inshallah. There's more emphasis that we can put on because of time and because of the length of this subject, inshallah. So we end it here, but the key message to take away, inshallah, today is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly reminding us in the Quran of purifying ourselves and cleaning our hearts and asking Allah to guide us to the reasons that will help us purify ourselves with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a clear message in many parts of the Quran and the Sunnah. If we do not get this right, we could be in trouble on the Day of Judgment. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, on the Day of Judgment, the day, nor your money nor your wealth will be of any use, except those who return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a pure heart. It's the heart, brothers and sisters. Wallahi, it's the heart. And a lot of people are trying to fix many problems in their nafs, many problems that they have, many diseases in the heart, many bad morals and bad actions. All of this can be resolved by focusing on yourself and purifying yourself. Everything comes naturally after, if you focus enough on purifying yourself. It's not me, wallahi, the Prophet said it. I mentioned what sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it. I said it 10 minutes ago. When he said that if the heart is pure and clean, the rest of the body is okay. So if you're worried about your actions and how you're going about doing things in life, and you're not happy with the level of adab or your manners or the level of sincerity or any problem that you have, go to purify yourself. Ask Allah tonight to guide you to purify yourself and increase. And I mentioned this before and I'll mention it next time, but we don't have time today. Increase the number of salawat that you do on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam every day. This is a reason to move you from darkness to light. It's not me claiming this. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying it. Huwa alladhi, after you do salawat on the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels will do salawat on you once you've done it on the Prophet. So Allah will do it 10 times on you. Why? To remove you from darkness and bring you to, what's the key word we've been talking about all day? Bring you to light. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. اللهم أملأ قلوبنا بنور الإيمان بك وجميل التوكل عليك. اللهم أحينا بالإسلام وأمتنا على الشهادة. اللهم أنزع من قلوبنا كل ما سواك يا رب العالمين. اللهم زدنا حبا وخضوعا لك يا رب العالمين، وزدنا حبا لك لنبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.